For people who are hesitant to bring design in or to really invest in that, how much of an impact do you think that that had on your success on paid advertising?
A lot. I mean, there's two components of it. There's the designers and the graphics people, and then the photographers. Creative personalities are always fun and interesting. And so it's important to like have the right fit with that person as well. And
Yeah.
if you are doing a lot of contract work with creative personalities, I think that can be challenging sometimes because if someone is like a freelancer or someone that's just used to doing their own thing, they are probably going to have their own idea of how that project wants to get done. And sometimes that may be fine and take you to levels that you didn't think of. And if you're not a super creative person, like that might be a better direction. But I know like the founders and the product team were all very creative. They had a very specific vision of how things should appear and how they should be sold. And that, like, again, like just leaning into that lifestyle aspect of it, we were able to just have a lot more control by owning that space a little bit more. So I would say huge impact on that. And then also, like, it just allows you to do more and have more churn when you're doing it in house. Because if you're working with a contractor and you only have so many hours a month, and you do 10 creatives for Facebook and none of them work, then you're like scrambling to try to figure something out. Whereas when you have it in house and your desk is right next to them, you can
Oh
maybe
yeah.
bring them a cup of coffee and ask for a favor for them to turn something around really quickly if you need something because things aren't clicking.
I think it's the there's an aspect that's undervalued, and that is kind of the feel of a brand. And it's one of those things that I've noticed from working with a couple of different founders that they have like the ones that have a really intuitive sense of what feels good and what is high quality are the ones that are able to, if they have people that can operationalize around them and push things out. I find that though that's like a really deadly combination. I remember when I was working with the Pure Vita guys really early on, I noticed about Griffin, who was one of the founders, was like he was just so in tuned to how things looked and how things felt on the website that there would be things that it would be like, okay, no, this pixel needs to go 3 pixels over, or this whole thing is off, right? Down to a really intense level of detail. But what I think happened with that, for my take, was like it was so dialed in and the feeling was so good that when the paid advertising started amplifying it, it really was successful. And it's like not something that you might have two equivalent businesses and one of them just feels nicer. And so people go with it.
Yeah. I think with what's happening on Facebook right now and just in general, brands that can distinguish themselves visually and creatively are going to do much better. I think that the
Yeah.
platform is going to become about creative and like using, I know Canva's done amazing things for a lot of people, but I think just using those templates isn't going to be enough because it's all going to start to look the same. I think that's, and if Freefly had a lot of copycats too, because once we started to see a lot of success, other people see that. So you're kind of always going to
Just
have to
kind of flood
stay
in.
ahead of it. And I think that's just going to become more and more important, just being really strong and consistent, and also just continuing to what's the next iteration of that creative visual for you.